Hi class, today we're going to be talking about leadership in the small group. This is going to be a review for you. We've talked about this in class already when we were meeting. And so I will try to, it's 2:59 right now, I'm going to try to get through this in the next 10 to 12, 15 minutes max, but around 12 minutes. And if there's still things I need to discuss with you, then I will make another video. Otherwise, let's get going and let's do a little review. So when you think about the stuff that we talked about in leadership, we talked about, what makes a leader, who do we consider people to be leaders? We did that activity in class where we wrote down people's names and we talked about qualities. So just keep that in mind while we're talking about this. Okay, so defining leadership. And I didn't share the screen. I'm going to share the screen right now. There we go. When we define leadership, we're talking about understanding leadership as human communication, which modifies the attitudes and behaviors of others in order to meet shared group goals and needs. Okay, so a leader shapes through communication the attitudes and behaviors of others in order to meet the goals and needs of the group. Okay, so it's not about the leader. The leader does things to help the group. So keep that in mind, that the leader's they're not like trying to take over anything. It's really about leaders trying to help the group meet their own needs and get their goals accomplished. Okay, talking about sources of power and influence, we talked about different ways that leaders have power and influence. That's what we mean about sources. Where do leaders get their power and influence? Some of them are appointed or elected, like a president of the United States is appointed. Actually, he's elected, obviously. Someone who's appointed could be someone who's appointed like a judge in a court. They're appointed by a body, or appointed in an organization. They're appointed in that situation. So that's what we call legitimate power and influence. People have elected to have that, agreed to have that person be the leader. Another source of power and influence a leader has is what we call reward power. And I put bringing in punishment power up there as well. So oftentimes leaders have the power to reward or punish people. Okay. People in leadership roles that are, they're modifying, they're influencing behavior of others. Police officers they're leaders in our community, and they have the ability to give us tickets, right? To punish us for bad behavior. Judges have that. And judges are leaders. Reward power. Your parents are like leaders. They have the ability they have reward power. They can reward you for good things when you do well, like you get good grades when you were a kid. When you do well, there's reward power when you do something well, the power of a coach to applaud you, or if you've worked really hard to get the position that you want. Those are leaders who have the power to reward or punish. Okay, some leaders have what we call expert power. We believe what they say. They have influence over us because they have their expertise in a certain area. They have the credentials, they have the background, they have the schooling, they are academic, they have academic experience, they've been a professor, or maybe that's someone that's a CEO of an organization, they've been an entrepreneur. These people have what we call expert power, and it's based upon their knowledge and their credentials in a certain area. And let me also say that a leader can have more than one source of power and influence, right? So if we look at the President of the United States, he has legitimate power. He has reward power and punishment power. He also has expert power, right? And in some cases, he has referent power. A president of the United States, if they're popular and they're admired by people, they have referent power. And referent power is something, someone, usually they earn it, like that respect. Someone is well respected because respect is earned. it's usually based upon the culture that you live in, and depending upon where you live, what country you grew up in, what community you grew in, what you respect, and what you believe is important, and what you find admirable. There's power in that. Oftentimes, people like that are popular and very well liked. Okay, informational power. Someone who has the power to control access and the distribution of information. That could be like a teacher or a professor. It could be also your supervisor. It could be the company that you work for. You could think that leaders in the media have that kind of power. Even government leaders have that kind of power. Ecological power really applies to your small group communication and the small group. The leader in the group who kind of directs how you organize your tasks or how you go about your project, and kind of sits down and says, okay, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to do this thing first, the other thing second, and then we're going to work on this other thing. And that kind of gives you an idea of, I want to look at the time right now. Good, got 5 minutes. The idea of how you're going to go about a task, and helps the kind of keep the group on task and focus on what they need to get done, and has the ability, what we call their leadership, their power and influence, has ability to alter the environment, right? Can be positively or negatively. If you have a person that's a bad leader that makes you feel bad, you're maybe not, as a group, not going to want to do things. But if you have someone that's uplifting and positive and has a can-do attitude, it's going to affect like that, the feeling of your group. Okay. So understanding the difference between what we call a designated leader and an emergent leader. So the designated leader is someone's appointed, like the president, like a senator, like a judge. Let's see, I'm trying to think of other ones. Could be like the Pope. Religious leaders are appointed or assigned or elected. And they're considered legitimate, right? We go legitimate power and influence because a body of people elected that person to be in that position. Okay, as opposed to an emergent leader. So emergent leader, that's the person in your group. There's probably a member in your group, could be you, that's kind of emerged in a leadership role, and that the group has accepted that this person kind of directs where the group is going. And this person, generally, when we think of someone who's that emerges as a leader, we think of it as an emergent leader, someone, it's situational and contextual, meaning that person is that leader in that situation, but it doesn't mean that they would be a leader in all situations. Okay, contextual means within the context, within that situation, they're a leader. Now, they may have leadership qualities. Oftentimes, the leadership qualities are based upon who you're with, right? In another situation, you may not have the same kind of leadership qualities for a variety of reasons. You may have those kind of qualities internally, but given any day of the year or any day of the week, depending on how you feel and the situation and who you're with, there may be someone that be a better leader than you, so that person's leader at that time around. When we say that the leader comes up informally, means they're not elected to that position. It's not a legitimate elected or appointed position. They just kind of happens over time. Oftentimes what we think of a leader as someone who has good, what we call self-monitoring skills. And self-monitoring skills means they're good at controlling their emotions. And I don't mean controlling, I mean like expressing their emotions and having some balance, right? So they're not a person that's reactive. They probably come across pretty calm and thoughtful. We call that in interpersonal communication, we call that a person who has emotional intelligence. So they're kind of they're mindful about how they communicate and their impact on other people. So that's what I mean about self-monitoring. And perhaps also this person is the kind of person that thinks about what they're going to say before they speak. So they're mindful of how their words and their behavior and their attitudes can impact others. We also think of this person as intelligent, above average in intelligence. They're generally extroverted. So extroverted meaning you can tell that they want to talk to you and they're interested in you, and they get energy from connecting with other people. But they're also good at listening. So this is not a person that's going to dominate the conversation. This is a person that's going to be good at talking and listening at the same time. And they also have a talent for knowing, as a listener, they have a talent for saying, hey, this person's really good at this particular activity. And I can tell, I've been watching them. They're really good at drawing. So let's have that person work on the PowerPoint because we want to make it kind of artistic or kind of creative. So I bet that this person will be really good at that. So they're really good at identifying like personality traits and matching up to tasks in a group. We'll come and check the time right now. And I'm going to stop. So we're going to pick up from where I left off in the next video, and I will see you then.